Hey there, Game Roomies, and welcome back to another summer game. This is going to be the last one on our list. It's already coming to a close, just in time for the calendar year to reach its end. For those who don't know, this has been a campaign where I take the 5 new games that I completed this summer and do a review of each and every one, showing ways in which they challenged me, interesting details about their development, and so on. This final one's going to be a little bit interesting. As stated during my review of Dragon Ball FighterZ, this formula of seeing a game through to its end credits doesn't necessarily lend itself to every type of game. Sometimes when I find myself filling a slot with a shorter title, I feel a little bit guilty, like I'm limiting myself on the challenges I can experience. At times like that, I have to remind myself that the purpose of doing this every year in the first place isn't just to prove that I can, but to step outside of my comfort zone, and most importantly, experience the best of what our industry has to offer. When I finished Sonic Mania, I found myself incredibly conflicted. It was an excellent experience, and one that called back to my past in quite a meaningful way, but also brought into question some of the games I loved most from my younger days. The Messenger rallied my spirits during an E3 that I had mixed emotions on. Dragon Ball FighterZ nearly broke me, and after a 7-game build-up, Yakuza 6 was really solid, but far less impressive than the games that came before it. But our final game was an elevated experience, the likes of which I never expected to resonate with me so strongly. There are some franchises out there that are sure to follow whenever a genre is mentioned. Call of Duty or Halo for shooters, Mario or Sonic for platformers, Zelda for adventure games, Final Fantasy for RPGs. But whenever puzzle games are mentioned, one name is sure to follow. Tetris has been emblematic of the entire medium since its birth in 1984, and we've seen numerous takes over the years, from battle royales to 3D variations to ports on every platform known to man. But somehow, the idea in its simplicity manages to be timeless in its execution, and there's no single example of that that's quite as effective as Tetris Effect. Now, this game's campaign is short and sweet, only about 3 hours in length, but as with The Messenger, what makes it truly stand out is what it has to say. The campaign in this game, in my opinion, is more of a tour. It's a showcase of what this game does. And what this game does is simple. It maximizes sound design and visuals to take the simplicity of Tetris and turn it into a multifaceted experience, highlighting immersion and emotional resonance. For those who somehow missed the boat on one of the best performing franchises in gaming, Tetris is a block-stacking puzzle game where players have to stack and line up oddly shaped blocks called tetraminos along a grid-shaped board. If you manage to cover an entire row of the grid with blocks, that line will disappear. You can chain these line clears together, and clearing 4 lines at the same time creates a Tetris. There are also more advanced techniques like T-spins, but for a game like Tetris Effect, you can start strong just by clearing the lines. Failing to clear lines will cause your board to fill up, and if you reach the top, you lose. Each stage of the campaign is simple. Depending on your chosen difficulty, you'll have a select amount of lines to clear. As you progress, your line clears contribute to a full song and instrumental cues determined by your moving and falling tetraminos. The process is as simple as it's ever been. Rotate and place your pieces to clear individual lines on the Tetris board. Only this time, the aesthetic components have been ramped up to their maximum potential, creating a sense that each individual board rewrites the Tetris experience in its entirety. The campaign also has this really fun approach to its individual levels, allowing you to plow through them in a playlist of sorts, which is fitting for its musical qualities, and helps to further accentuate the diversity of level design at work here. It also does help to make the game feel less tedious overall, with a real sense of streamlined design and clever forethought. In addition to this, there is also a new mechanic called Zone, which freezes time on the board, allowing players to achieve greater line clear combos than even the titular Tetris. I've cleared 10 in one zone so far, but I'm always aiming higher. Stacking blocks is as simple as it gets, but simplicity is not a flaw in this case, it's a feature. A simple premise, an accessible core mechanic, in this case, allows the game to build around it in other ways that are equally as enticing as games that are deeper in design mechanically. And the benefit of this is that the game can reach a wider audience, which in my eyes is actually the duty of a Tetris title. Tetris Effect is a profound evolution of this idea, incorporating a multimedia experience that anyone can enjoy. Be it the small rhythmic touches every time you move a tetramino, or the splashes as individual pieces land on the board, this is a thoroughly enjoyable VFX journey, and because of that, the simplicity of Tetris is the perfect accompaniment. It's familiar, it's easy to learn if you haven't played, and it allows you to enjoy the experience in a way that never feels distracting from the game's core premise. Finally, this works because the sound design itself is genuinely superb. The game never feels too overly reliant on one type of idea. Rather, the theme of each level feels fairly unique to it, spanning concepts varying from journeying through a field of windmills in the sky to an icy mountain to the depths of space, and each brings with it a unique mood and energy, but they all manage to invite something special. To take the concept of Tetris and create from it this genuine feeling of adventure takes a careful guiding hand, and the point precision of this game on a design level is truly something to behold. In addition to everything I've mentioned, Tetris Effect also has a lot of different modes, from marathon to multiplayer, story mode to online play, music playlists, and so much more. Each of these options allows players to experience their favorite levels in new ways and under different circumstances, and by design, the game encourages relaxation, so it's a great fit for enjoying some tunes. There's plenty of good to be found in Tetris Effect, and to look at it from a bird's eye view, it's difficult to see any criticisms, to be honest. But in spite of that, there's something very interesting about Tetris that is ultimately pervasive throughout the entire franchise, and it's something so minute that someone who doesn't play it regularly wouldn't even notice. Different Tetris games feel different. It's an obvious sentiment, but a powerful one in the face of a game about timing, fast-paced thought, and organizational mastery. And while Tetris Effect rocks my socks as an experience with powerful music, imagery, and theming, it does not wow me as a Tetris game. To be fair, some of my complaints might be platform specific, as I haven't played it on non-Xbox consoles, so I don't know if this is more about the frame dips or what. It might even just be a consequence of the more rhythmic focus of the game. But the difficulty scaling feels totally off here. And listen, I'm no pro, but I've won an Invictus match here and there in Tetris 99, and I usually average a top 10 placement in that game. Even here, I did clear this game on its expert difficulty, and I have to admit, there's just something about the fall speed that just felt way too inconsistent and difficult to control. At times on expert mode this was frustrating, but playing on the normal difficulty was a far more soothing and enjoyable experience throughout. In addition to this, while I understand the level of catered design that each level of this game requires, it doesn't stop the length from being a bit of a pain point for me. I mean, I was really warming up to the idea of playing Tetris as a campaign. I loved Dr. Mario 64 back in the day, and for that exact reason, so some kind of Tetris game with a full narrative would be a really good fit for me. Actually, you know what? That's a great idea. I mean, this game only took me the better part of an afternoon, so I probably do have time for a sixth one. And if it's going to be Tetris, I might as well just include it in this video. Before I make the leap, let's wrap this up. Tetris Effect is good. It's really good. But I think depending on your relationship with Tetris as an idea, mileage will vary. If you prefer the game on a competitive or high skill level, certain functions probably won't work for you. But if you like to scratch that organizational itch in your brain, it's great for that, and even better for a multimedia experience that uses Tetris as its means of delivery. All in all, I would highly recommend this experience for any and all who love the block stacking classic. Puyo Puyo Tetris has been among my collection of demos since the Switch's launch year, and yet I could never bring myself to make the purchase. Finally, after playing Tetris Effect, the idea of a mission-based structure in my puzzle games was all too appealing to ignore, and my journey began through the Sega-created world of Puyo Puyo, with a Tetris touch. Puyo Puyo is a classic puzzle series in which players must try to stack multicolored blobs in an effort to create clear combos and earn high amounts of points. Some of you might be familiar with it from Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine back on the Sonic Mega Collection. Clearing groupings of the blobs send garbage or filler non-colored blobs to your opponents, and the first player to fill their board entirely loses, not unlike Tetris. Of course, this particular game adds a little bit of block dropping to the mix. Puyo Puyo Tetris mixes and mashes two fantastic puzzle games with various party modes, online play, and even a full campaign featuring characters from Sega's classic series, as well as some brand new heroes representing the apparently quite storied world of Tetris. Because a lot of the Puyo Puyo games have not been localized here in the West, this game feels like a big old mishmash of random events. An idea that could seem overwhelming at a glance, but further investigation makes it clear that this game does not take itself too seriously, and much to its own benefit in my opinion. The story, characters, setting, they're all handled with a degree of self-awareness that makes the more ridiculous narrative elements feel like a borderline parody, rather than a missed opportunity. In addition to that, the English voice cast is fairly star-studded, with the likes of Cassandra Lee Morris and Max Mittelman making an appearance. Beyond the bells and whistles that the crossover components provide, Puyo Puyo and Tetris in this game feel as true to their origins as humanly possible. In addition, there are different modes that put a nice spin on the game we've come to know and love. For example, Big Bang Mode is an addictive romp focused on navigating a maze of Puyo or Tetris boards to get the most clears. These modes feel so effectively competitive, exciting, but never quite in ways that you would expect, and I think that's their appeal. I mean, for a game as true to its own nature as Tetris to be given a bombastic makeover truly feels like reinventing the wheel, and yet it's not a redundancy. It's a step forward, rejuvenating classic puzzle franchises to turn them into genuine, full-blown party games. But make no mistake, despite its more broad appeal, there's still a competitive edge to this game, as it does offer online multiplayer, and because it's a more traditional approach to these games than something like Tetris 99, it doesn't have to compete for real estate on the same platform. The same applies to the aforementioned Tetris Effect, which is now on Switch itself. That's the main reason I chose to discuss both of these games instead of choosing one or the other. Each title offers enough on its own to prevent either from feeling like the definitive way to play Tetris on the Switch. And for the likes of Tetris Effect, you have options for how you'd like to experience that game as well. Tetris Effect is a game that helps you to come down, taking in the sounds and sights while the comforting familiarity of Tetris carries you through your audio-visual journey. Then Puyo Puyo Tetris hypes you up, with bombastic upbeat music, visuals, and game modes. These puzzle games embody the idea that simplicity is beauty, and in game design, refined simplicity offers iterative challenges for developers, and the results are experiences that usually feel quite precise in their execution, and ultimately exceed expectations in many ways. As long as we keep looking at game design as a puzzle that needs solving, rather than an equation for printing money, we're always going to find special experiences like these ones, and perhaps most importantly of all, we'll never run out of ways to keep playing Tetris. So there you have it, Game Roomies. We've played 6 games this summer instead of 5. At the time of writing this script, or finishing the script, it's August 21st, and while I'm recording and editing, it's November 28th. But now I'd like to take a look back over my journeys with these games, and truly discuss the purpose of this little experiment that I do. Gaming has become the largest entertainment medium in the entire world, and as a result of that, it seems nearly everyone gets to engage with it in the way they choose to. Be it those who prefer to stick to mobile titles, or people like me who like to write about them, designers, developers, players of different ages, genres, and platforms, one thing remains true. There are more games out there than there have ever been before. Because of this, for someone like me who aspires to create resonant gaming experiences for other people, it's important to try and experience as many of them as I possibly can. I shudder to think, without setting this requirement for myself, that something like The Messenger, which I will probably be talking about for several years to come, might still just be a game that I'm considering trying, rather than one of my favorites of its genre. Even the games I didn't love had something important for me to glean, and as I look forward to the exploration of design philosophy, fragments of principle that make up some of the greatest works in our world, I'm glad that these 6 titles are now under my belt. From Yakuza 6, I learned the value of creating a world that players truly care about, and of course, that the introduction of the Dragon Engine proves there's always opportunity to iterate and evolve those core ideas. The Ryuga Gotoku team has always handled the Yakuza series with care, but they never allow that to stop them from exploring and adventuring with new ideas. From The Messenger, I learned that sometimes heart is the greatest tool a developer can have, and that building a team of people who respect each other and inviting them to help build out your world can create something that feels authentic and complete. That, and that simple yet effective mechanics can change the way you interact with the game world. From Sonic Mania, I learned that in our industry's roots, we can find some of the most fun and memorable experiences to date. And of course, that you simply gotta go fast. From Dragon Ball FighterZ, I learned that not every game needs a story mode, and that if you're gonna do it, you should probably make sure you do it right. That and less is more. Much, much less. Finally, through Tetris Effect and Puyo Puyo Tetris, I learned that when in doubt, it never hurts to take a break and calm down with a good old game of Tetris. Finally, I want to thank you all for tuning in for my journey through some truly interesting gaming experiences over the course of the back half of this year. It was an honor to share this journey with you all, and I'm very excited to do it all over again next summer. In addition to this, I will have 2 more videos that I'm planning to release this year. While this project has definitely demanded a lot out of me, I think you'll find my final 2 videos of the year are going to take things a step even further. The first of these is probably going to be my review of Persona 5 Strikers, just because the script for that is already finished. So that's going to be an interesting return to the world of Persona 5, and an excellent bookend, given that that was the final video of the year last year that I had uploaded. Following that will be my second character study, and my final video of the year is going to be about Kiryu Kazuma from the Yakuza series. I felt kind of bummed out that my first Yakuza video was a review of 6, a game in the series that I actually didn't enjoy nearly as much, but I promise there is a lot to talk about as far as the Yakuza series, and having now finished Like a Dragon, I can tell this character study is really going to be something pretty substantial. But I want to thank you all again for tuning in. If you like games and people who talk about them, I'm going to be here for quite a long time, so make sure you come back soon for more from The Game Room.